G'day, legends, and welcome to the Thursday Sesh Celtic Down Under. I'm your host, Jared, and joining me tonight is Willie, Dan, and Jared. How you going, Willie?
I'm going all right, Jared and guys. It's been very autumnal sort of day here. It's getting a bit cooler in New Zealand, so some jumpers have been looked out. No more shorts and t-shirt for the rest of the year, I would say. So.
Devo, mate. How you going, Dan?
Mate, I'm having an absolute cracker of a day. No complaints whatsoever. No one's threatened to punch my head in. Just, having a great day.
Jared will pick up for that in about 20 minutes' time.
Yeah, that's why I log into this every Thursday for those weekly threats.
Oh, shut up, Dan. And how you going, Jared?
I was doing well until I heard Dan hadn't had any threats yet. Just ruined my day.
That's why I said it.
Brilliant. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Appreciate it as always. If you haven't done so, at the top of the screen there, you can see all our social media channels. So on Twitter or X or whatever it's called, Celtic Down. Same as on Instagram and Threads, Facebook and YouTube. You can find us. Just search Celtic Down Under. Look for the logo with the boxing kangaroo, and hit subscribe, like the videos, and if you haven't done so, hit the notification bell on YouTube. So when we go live, you get notified, because I think that's how it works. So we haven't had a pod. We didn't have one last Thursday because of the public holiday, and then I wasn't on last Monday with the Pot Noodle boys because I was crook as. So got a bit to talk about. So Willie, we're just going to go around here. Celtic 2, Dundee 1. Just a quick chat, just a couple of sentences each on what you thought of the game. For me, job done. That's all I've got to say. Willie, what was your thoughts on that game?
Yeah, not the free-flowing, high-scoring game I'd hoped for, but 3 points, and that's all that matters at this sort of time of the season. We're in the business end, and we are in a title race, so there are going to be performances at this. Pitch was a bit dry and bobbly. Our passing accuracy was down a good 10% for this game, so that kind of shows how bad the pitch was. But at the end of the day, we were in control for large periods of the game. We played some nice football at times, some pretty poor football at other times. Dundee had a good spell in the second half, but they never really troubled Joe Hart. And James Forrest, obviously, man of the match. His first goal, if Messi or Ronaldo had scored that, would be on the highlights reel 24/7. So decent game, decent result.
Dan, what was your thoughts?
Yeah, not a lot more to add. Similar to a number of games this season. Dominated possession, dominated most of the important stats. 13 shots on goal. XG was like 1.4 though. So just not creating enough opportunities. But Jamesy Forrest, the OAP as it seems to be, based on how people seem to talk about him at the moment, was able to throw the Zimmer frame off and come on and make an impact. So two big goals from Jamesy, and it's certainly opened up a very different talking point for the last sort of 4 or 5 games of the season, where we were talking. We've spent a lot of time talking about our wingers, but it's only in the last little bit that Jamesy's sort of put himself back into that conversation. So I know we'll probably discuss that a little bit more tonight.
And Jared, anything to add?
I think we got off to a really good start, but I think we're struggling to play 90 minutes again. But now, instead of having a bad first half and a good second half, or having a good second half and a bad first half, or a 15-minute spell, it's just all over the place. I think we need just a little bit more consistency. But when we're good, we're really good. I think Forrest has kind of cemented himself in starting somewhere. But yeah, the second half, we need to start finishing games.
This whole, we always talk about Rodgers' first stint. It would be, we scored enough goals, 3 goals up, and then we just cruise control, just hit the ball around and just wind the clock down. It's like we're trying to go to that this season, and it gets us into trouble. So I think the old Ange theory of, if there's time on the clock, you keep pressing, you keep trying to win the ball back and score more goals is the best way we need to play. But I don't think we've got the players or fitness to do that.
A perfect example of that was the game before, where 3 minutes left, Adam Ida is standing in the corner trying to keep the ball away from Aberdeen. It's like, why are we doing that with 3 minutes to go? And then they end up scoring an equaliser. It's like, why? Like, that would never have happened under Ange. I keep mentioning Ange. But yeah, that seems to be like their mentality, and we ended up giving away the equaliser. Dan, to you. You were about to say something?
Yeah, I forgot to mention it when I first brought up, but it's not popular. He's not popular, but I thought Liam Scales was really good in a game where we probably didn't cop too much. I just thought a lot of that was down to how well he played. He had the most passes completed and most duels won in the game, and just sort of good, strong performance from a guy that gets a lot of sticks. So I wanted to throw it out there.
Yeah, so we'll bring up some comments and then we'll...
You can see that was popular. Even just amongst you three.
I'll be honest, Dan, I zoned you out looking at the comments.
So did I, to be fair, halfway through. I was like, what's going on over here?
It's like, what am I saying? Yeah, all good. No, I just wanted to bring up some comments here. So something that you were saying, Jared, Mahesh made a point here saying Dundee had control or stopped Celtic from having control from the 20th to the 60th minute. Dundee 8 shots to 3 during that period. So that ties in. That's the actual message I was reading that distracted me from what you were saying, Dan, because it tied in perfect to what Jared was saying. So I was thinking, I'll bring that one up. That'll make Jared look like he's not talking pish. Good fun. But yeah, I just want to go through a few more of the comments. So RL77 was nearly 10 minutes late, penalty to Rangers. Technical difficulties / dinner time over here. So apologies, mate. He was also gone, probably need to explain to the Scottish viewers that crook is a different thing in Australia. What's crook in Scotland? Can someone tell me? Does it mean you're like
crook means a robber, sort of
criminal?
No, I'm not that. I'm not that then. I've been sick. There you go. Had the man flu on the cement tablets, trying to harden up. You know how it is.
The fact he was pinching shit had absolutely nothing to do with it.
Exactly. See, that's no one else's stuff. That's my stuff. I stole it fair and square. Hey, Jerry, thanks for tuning in. Same to Stephen. I'm only working up here. I'm not a sheep in Aberdeenshire. Have fun up there, Willie. That's up your neck of the woods, isn't it? Or are you up at the north?
I'm way further north than that. Like,
and then morning Northampton team. And then, yeah, a few of the other comments on here will Pete McGee's agreeing with what you said, Dan. Not his biggest fan, but Scales was our best defender. And then the scales have fallen from my eyes. Yeah, so there we go. Criminal or a con man. Yeah, definitely not that. Northampton team's got it. Crook is a Scottish referee. Perfect summary. So I think the starting point for the pod here is we'll talk about the PFA Player of the Year shortlist that's been announced. So Matt O'Reilly is the only Celtic player to make the 4-man shortlist. He's up against James Tavernier, Lawrence Shanklin, and Jack Butland for the award. So I just want to get the feel on what do we think Matt's chances are of winning this award. I'll go first, give us some thinking time. For me, I think his biggest problem has been he's had a bit of a quiet patch recently, and that's coincided with Butland making a bunch of good saves and Shanklin banging in more goals. So I actually don't think it's going to go to Tavernier. I don't think it'll go to O'Reilly. I think it'll be between Butland and Shanklin. What do you think, Willie?
I kind of agree. I think it'll be between the two of them that'll get it. I think there's a bit of recency bias when it comes to this award. Like, if you look at the first half of the season, is Matt O'Reilly a standout player by a country mile? Like, but people who are voting on it, they'll be looking at from sort of February onwards, the sort of form from that sort of time. So, yeah, you'd probably say Shanklin's in with a pretty good shout at getting it, but his form seems to have tailed off a little bit this last while. In the last couple of weeks, Butland's had a few good stops, like, so it'll be one or the other, the forehead or the Butland. I don't know which one. So.
If it goes to the forehead, the only reason he'll be getting it is he's out of contract. Potentially, he'll add more dollars to his pay packet, so he'll be looking for something like that too. Dan, Jared, whichever one of you wants to jump in first, the other one tell the other one to shut up.
Yeah, shut
Oh,
the
what's
fuck
your
up,
thoughts, mate?
Jared. We're past 5 minutes, so I'm going to say it. Yeah, I think it's between those two. O'Reilly's had a great season. When you look at it, if you flipped it around and he had the quiet patch at the start and he was putting up his early numbers now, he'd probably walk away with it, to be honest. He's, had a huge involvement, lot of assists, good goals, contributions. He's been really strong. But honestly, the media loves a goal scorer that's not a old, firm goal scorer, as they like to still call them. Well, it's all I hear on every podcast and radio show, and every time someone gets one over on someone, it's they beat old firm duo or every friggin' week. But it'll be, I think, Shanklin. I think Butland's been all right. I think he's quite overhyped, and whatever. I'm not that impressed, but he has got the benefit of having the media well and truly on side. He's a bit of a media darling for the resurrective powers of Scottish football to come up here and save your career. So they love that sort of story as well. So it's definitely between them, but fair dues. Shanklin's been pretty lethal, except for those 4 or 5 games where they lay down every season.
So before you jump in there, Jared, I'm going to bring up this couple of comments here from Patrick. So I didn't realise O'Reilly has as many as 30 goal contributions this season. He's got 16 assists, 14 goals, 3 assists in the Champions League as well, which puts him in 9th in this season's Champions League table for assists. But then he's also gone, Johnson's also in the top 10 Champions League table for tackles won, which surprised me. So, Jared, what are your thoughts on the Player of the Year?
Well, I think it should be Kuhn, but he's not nominated. And that's all I've got to say. No. As soon as the nominations came up, my instant reaction was Butland. Pretty much because he seems to be the only person that was consistent the whole year. And I think O'Reilly overall is probably the better player. As you can see, he goals and assists, and he has done quite well for us on defense as well. But yeah, it's just that little dip he had for a couple of months where he wasn't playing bad, but not Player of the Year worthy. And Shanklin, well, he's not great, but he's been scoring goals. And realistically, that's all that really matters. So it just depends on what they want.
Earthquake at Dan's house. Either that or someone come in the room, he's looking at porn.
It's definitely one of those two things.
We'll let the viewers and listeners try and figure it out. I was on the audio podcast. Dan's computer almost fell off the desk or whatever. Then that's what that was about.
If you'd really like to, if you want me to pull the curtain back, my actual computer is shit itself for some reason. So I've got my work laptop sat on top of a storage basket. Hence the interesting angle of the wardrobe / ironing board. Yep. So yeah, there's your inside story for everyone at home.
Your accessorizing.
The glories of Jared's got fucking green mood lighting and a trophy and a guitar and fucking hell.
Willie's got a flag and looks like a calendar sort of thing on the wall, and I've got the flag. And you've got an ironing board. Love it. That's what happens out there.
The calendar looks like it's been there for about 6 years though.
Perhaps
it's as old as the house, Willie.
Sorry, it's a bit that. House is only 3 years old, but the calendar's been there that long, longer, like so.
Yeah, fun times.
Yeah.
So, I named the episode today "Brings Out the Fire" because of something that Matt O'Reilly said in an interview, and I found it in a Dirty Sun article that somehow clickbaited me on the subject into actually reading it. I felt dirty doing so. Don't hate me, but I'm going to read the actual thing because it's in response. Matt O'Reilly is saying that "brings out the fire" thing in response to Brendan Rodgers' quote from a couple of weeks ago. So I just want to touch on that. So the quote in the article was, Boss Brendan Rodgers said recently that this is the time when the hoop side comes alive. And O'Reilly has seen the extra sparkle in his eyes. He added, you can tell he enjoys it. We get that feeling too. It's fun when it's close. I know what it's like from a fan's perspective, and I'd like it to be easy and 12 points clear. But when it's close, it brings out that extra fire and drive in everyone. And then he carried on with saying, it's also not being too invested in the noise around that. It can add pressure on myself and the team. It's about enjoying the ride and having fun. It's also about not getting too ahead of ourselves. I'm sure people are thinking about Rangers, but that should be the last thing on our minds. Should be thinking about tomorrow, then the next day, then the next. We lost to Hearts the last time at home, so we need to be focused. So for me, from that, the whole brings out the fire part. Why I wanted to touch on that was, should Rodgers and all the players be needing, that 3-point gap to bring in that sparkle and that focus and wanting to be up and about for this, or should they have that automatically because they're well-paid football players? I've seen both sides of this discussed and people arguing on Twitter, and it seems to be, it's going to sound, might get some abuse in the comments, whatever, I'll live with it. Seems to be like a bit of a Celtic Dar sort of split down the middle. All the Celtic Dars are saying they're well-paid players, they should be focused the whole time, blah, blah, blah. And then you got a lot of younger fans going, oh, yeah, they should be able to do what they've been doing and then knuckle down and win it. So it's kind of like, that's the divide I'm kind of seeing. Like the younger fans are saying that and all the older ones are saying the other, but I kind of agree more with the older guys. So first of all, I want to find out what you guys think, and then we can just chat about that whole thing about the focus and that a little bit more. So Willie, what are you thinking? Should they be focused the whole time, or should they be, getting that bit of fire brought out of him now?
No, I think they are focused. I see a calmness about them at this moment in time. I don't think they're panicking. I don't see any players like stressed out, making stupid mistakes and just looking like they were going to cost us the title at some point or another. I mean, we've had close title run-ins before, and you get the feeling that you're not going to win it when you see certain results go one way and you think, oh, that's it, gone. I don't get that feeling with this team. So what I would say is there's a calmness about the team, which means they're focused. So, yeah, I would say they're focused. Like, it looks that way to me at the moment, right? So,
Dan, what do you think?
Yeah, look, I would probably agree with what Willie said there, but I'd also add, we can all sit here and say, oh, they should be focused and they should be this, but they're also just human beings. And like, how often are we 100% focused at work? Like, let's be honest, are we always switched on, ready to go? If you are, amazing, because I know I'm not. It takes me a minute sometimes to stop and go, gee, what am I doing today? Or, my head's just not here today. I've got things going on in my life. And they're literally human beings. Like, they're not, yes, it means a lot to them, but professional football is their job. They're here to win titles. They're here to win games. They're clearly very good at playing football, most of them. The jury's out on a couple of them, but they're good enough to have been paid football players. But it's a job to them. Celtic's their employer. They're going to go out and do their best, but to have this belief that just because they're well-paid footballers, they should be 100% focused and zoned in. It's unrealistic, if you ask me. It's
like, you're saying it takes you a minute sometimes. With me, it's like I get an email, look at it and be like, how do I tell someone to go fuck themselves without putting that in the actual message? Or how do I tell someone, no, you're wrong, or nah, I'm not going to do that? There's always a way. You got to figure out the right way to do it. So it's always got to take a bit of time and assess the situation. And I can understand, like, okay, for me, yeah, they should be focused. They should know their roles. That's what I'm seeing that. But at the same time, yeah, there's the human element. Jared, as the resident coach on this panel, let's dive into your cranium and give us all the knowledge.
Well, I kind of agree with Dan. And also one thing that people forget, everyone just goes, oh, they're professional footballers and they're getting paid this and this and this. Like, yes, they're human, but also some of them are 20, 21, 22. And they go into these big games and like, I'll look at myself when I was 21. If I had like social media pressuring me this much, and then a lot of it comes down to like confidence. And if all this is kind of happening and you don't have confidence, it doesn't matter how much skill you've got. And when you look at like finishing, like I think, like I agree, they're focused this time. Like, and it's good that they have got that fire to go in. Because you look at last year, we won the league several games before, and then we just turned off. And they're like, oh, it doesn't matter. You should be getting paid. Sometimes it's hard. Like when you've already won, like you're not playing for anything, and it's like, no, you should be playing for this. Like, go put yourself in that situation. Like, because I know it's hard. Like from coaching point of view, there's been several times where I've won the league before the season's over, and then you've got to get people to still come to training, and they're like, oh, but I've got other things that I want to do. I mean, that's different because they're not getting paid, but it's just your mentality can just switch, and a lot of times it's hard to control. You see a lot of professional athletes and they go downhill and it's got nothing to do with their talent. And it all comes down to sports psychology, which I think plays a huge role in if someone plays well or if someone doesn't play well. Look at Kun. He started to the season a bit sick, but also his confidence wasn't there. But you can see he had skill. Same with Yang. Yang, you can see he's got skill, but he's still young. He's got no, like his confidence is up and down, and I think it's more of a mentality for him. I think he needs to go out and loan and kind of get that maturity, but it doesn't always come down to just skill and money.
Yep, 100%. So I'm going to bring up some comments here, and then we'll chat a bit more about it. So this is for you, Dan. Robert Gibson is saying, fantastic furniture can sell you a fancy milk crate for the laptop.
I'm on it now.
Player of the year from Patrick was penalty kicks for Rangers. And so RL77 was saying, we don't have enough experience in the team. O'Reilly is an old head on young shoulders. That's from early on. And then Stephen Ray was saying, Willie mentioned recency bias regarding O'Reilly. I believe fans suffer this with Palmer. Yes, he's been injured, lost 4, but 11 goals, 13 assists, puts 2 contributions behind Jota of 22-23 season. Didn't even realise that. Robert, I appreciate the feedback on this one too, for how to tell someone to, go do one. Perfect. Nice. And then, as you were saying about the sports psychology side of it, it's strange all the doctors saying it's like any performer, be it a musician, actor, sportsman, your reputation is based on performance. Fail to focus on that and no one will want to see you. And then when we're told the team is young, Pete and Jess, my youngster's 28, and I still think of her as a baby of the family. So 21's practically a fetus. So,
Can I just make a comment back to Strangelove there? That's accurate, but you can go to a concert and a musician can have a rough night as well.
Yeah.
Like I'm a massive, massive Alice Cooper fan, right? It's still the worst going to see him live was the worst concert I ever went to because the voice was gone and they turned up the music just to sort of compensate for the fact that he couldn't sing anymore. So he's getting by on that reputation, but his performance is not consistent. And that's what happens at a football level. At the end of the day, human error is human error.
I saw that. So similar to that, Dan, I went and saw Guns N' Roses a few years back, and Axl Rose can't hit the high notes the way he used to, but the music and everything was great, so it's still a decent concert. But the best part of that whole concert was that I have it on video of someone with the spotlight thing and Axl doing an Axl thing and abusing the living shit out of the camera operator and the light guy for blinding him. It was great. So I had a little meltdown. So, yeah, you know what you mean. Everyone can have their moments. Anyway, back on point.
Well, just to touch on that as well, what Strangelove was saying, if you fail to focus and no one wants to see you in that, I mean, that's where Rodgers comes into it. I mean, he's going to prepare these guys for what's going to happen. Is it anyone will ever tell you, you fail to prepare, you're preparing to fail. And Rodgers is very, very meticulous when it comes to setting out for how he plays each game and that. And I'm pretty sure he will make sure that these guys are focused and on point when it comes to it. Like, so I'm quietly confident for the next 3 or 4 games as it goes, and I'm hopeful that the players have the same sort of feeling about them, and there's the same feeling about the camp too right now. So,
100%, Willie. So I'm just going to jump on to the next topic here. Just something you mentioned, Willie, about the SFA VAR independent review update. So the SFA put out a story update saying, following the conclusion of a pre-split SPFL Premiership fixtures, the VAR independent review panel have met to consider key match incidents. The panel comprises former players, managers, coaches, guided by experts. In the opinion of the IRP, based on incidents requested by the panel, consideration 26 key match incidents have been adjudged to have reached an incorrect outcome since the start of the season. To date, there have been a total of 1,181 VAR reviews conducted by the SPFL Premiership. Whilst the majority of these are silent checks of an on-field incident which require no intervention, 76 have resulted in on-field reviews, 0.4 on-field reviews per match, while another 36 have been factual overturns, i.e. offsides, inside, outside the penalty area. 90.3% of on-field decisions are considered correct by the IRP, increased to 97.8 when including VAR intervention. Scottish Referees Operations shared these statistics to Premiership clubs Wednesday morning. So it's still 2.2% wrong. But Willie, I want to get your thoughts on that whole situation with the league reviewing its own stuff. To me, it just doesn't seem right.
They're marking their own homework, and they've come out with massively high pass marks. Unsurprising, you know what I mean? It just doesn't make any sense to me. They're claiming both penalties in the Hearts game should never have been. Yeah, they were soft, but they were given. They went to VAR, and VAR confirmed them. So they're claiming that the one that gets me, that's kind of rankling at me, they're claiming that Young's red card was correctly a red card. Now, Ron Dobertson was called to the screen to watch this, slowed down, still images, here you go, boots in his face, right, by a certain John Beaton. Now, against Dundee, the boy Botan lifts his feet and just about hits Awata in the face. Stands up, you see the still images of it, not even talking to over it. Same referee, John Beaton. So why is one a red card and one isn't? What sort of standard are they judging this to? Because you've got two challenges that are pretty much identical, and one is meriting a red card and one isn't. So where's the nuance between these sort of decisions? You know what I mean? They're telling us we've had two decisions go for us and one against us. And unsurprisingly, Rangers have 5 decisions go against them. I think it's fair to say that the SFD have done a decent job of convincing themselves that they're doing well. Meanwhile, everyone else in Scottish football can see that they're just making a rip-roaring cunt of it. And that's probably the reason why there is no Scottish referees going to be at UEFA's international flagship tournament in Germany this summer. So for me, it's just a joke.
With Yangs, that was the first thing I thought of when I saw that, and they said it was a correct decision. But I also think if they overturned it and said, no, it's a yellow, I think they'd come back and go, that's a correct decision. I think they're making it easier for them because realistic, for that one, it's the referee's call, so it could go either way. So whatever one they picked, I think they'd come back and go, that's the correct decision. And then the one you were talking about in Awata, we're never going to know because it wasn't VAR checked. So we don't know if it's right or wrong. The issue with that is it's just the inconsistency. Whether it's a yellow or a red, if someone else does it in another game, a yellow or a red, not nothing. It's more the consistency rather than the red card that was given.
Yeah, so there's some comments here about on the weekend about the Yangs one. So you got Butland's challenge on St Mirren on Sunday was worse than Yangs at Tynecastle. And then there's a follow-up to that saying he wiped him out, albeit he cleared the ball. And Mahesh is saying that contact on its own isn't enough. There has to be a level of force as a threshold. 100%. How do you measure the force? Because some people like Silva, for instance, at Rangers, if you breathe in his direction, he's on the ground rolling 17 times towards his penalty box. But then you got guys like Kelmack or Alistair Johnson or whatever who will get absolutely clattered and will just get up and just laugh at a guy the way Bruni used to. So the whole level of force thing's kind of hard to figure out. I don't know. I just think it's an absolute shit show.
I think the problem there is, apart from where you've talked about the decisions being changed by VAR, what we're arguing over or what we're bringing up and talking about is disagreeing with subjective decisions, which is not so much a VAR thing as it is an entire referee thing.
Yep.
That's not just on the VAR. That's down to the guy in the middle, the guy in his ear, all of that, because we're saying, well, how's that a red? How's that a yellow? How's that not? The VAR issue to me is separate. It's the implementation and the usage of VAR and the people behind it. There is huge question marks there, question marks over the way they communicate it, particularly in ground, because you're standing in a ground, nobody's got a clue what's going on until it's, I mean, football's the only sport I watch where you have no idea what the referee's saying because they're not mic'd up. There's no insight into that. Cricket, rugby league, NFL, you watch it, you can hear, stop the camera there, I want to have a look at that, oh, I can see a bit of grass, whatever. The problem we've got, I think, more than anything is the actual standard of the referees, which to me comes back to how we've still got part-time referees. I think is ridiculous at this level. It's pertinently criminal, if you ask me. The problems with VAR, I think, are a little bit separate to that, where we're another. I've got to stop talking with my hands. We're going to have another earthquake. The problem with VAR is totally separate. That's the time it's taking. It's the issues and the frustration that's creating are a bit different to me than that decision's wrong, because most of the ones we're questioning were subjective, where whether you've got 500 camera angles or no camera angles because you've fucked off VAR, you're still going to have that debate. How is that? And the perfect one is the Yang example, because as you said, the independent match review panel, or whatever they call themselves, who I haven't been able to find who's on it. So I'm assuming they don't publish that. They've said, yep, that should have been a red card. The possible solution that's been bandied about is, well, why don't we have ex-professionals in there to, say, well, actually, as a player, like he's just controlling the ball, whatever. Obviously the independent match review, whoever was on that as an ex-pro, has said it's still a red card. Whereas I think when I was listening to Clyde Super Scoreboard the other day, you've got Marvin Bartley and Simon Donnelly saying never a red card, no chance. So ex-pro, never played the game, referee, just subjective decisions are still going to have those arguments. That's the difference, subjective or objective. And VAR is great for the objective stuff. Yep, he's offside, easy done. Subjective, contact, yes, no. And we always talk about intent when it's not a rule, as has been brought up multiple times. So not to go on a rant, but I think we've got to be really clear about where the issue lies and where, I guess, the frustration's coming from.
So I'm going to bring up a couple of comments here, because we've got Shane from our Monday Pot Noodle has put in the comments here, A-League finals this weekend will have the refs explain their decisions when they go to VAR, similar to what they did to the Women's World Cup. It'll be interesting to see how that goes. Finally, IFAB has allowed that to happen, because they've been trying to get that as a trial down here in Australia for a couple of years, and it's finally happening. So that's pretty good. So we can see that works.
Come on, you Sky Blues.
Yeah, boo. On the vuck. And then we've got Thomas Bradley we're going to be up against it with decisions going forward, but it's got to get this one done. And then, as you were saying there, Stephen Ray saying VAR should just be for factual incidents, i.e. ball over the line, offside, penalty decisions when close to line, i.e. inside, outside, handballs, that sort of stuff. So if it's yellow cards, if it's free kicks, shouldn't be they're not there to re-referee the game. They're there for clear and obvious errors. So factual incidents like that makes more sense. And then you've got...
I mean, you just to jump straight on that, you get rid of VAR, and then all of a sudden Rangers get gifted a goal where the ball didn't cross the line. We're having the exact opposite debate. We're saying, how is that missed? Why are we not looking at that? I can see that it never crossed the line, or whatever. Something like that. VAR is going to get that right.
We should have goal line technology too. It's not difficult. It's not hard to install goal line technology. Probably another thing we don't have in Scotland that we should do.
We should have refs that aren't fucking school teachers too.
We should have reffing Celtic games that aren't fucking Rangers fans for a start. Sectarian cunts at that.
Far out, Willie. He's gone on a tangent.
Honestly,
that's two cunts, and none of them were me.
That John Beaton really pisses me off at the moment. He just, that whole Hearts game, he re-refereed that game from his little fucking caravan somewhere, just going, that's definitely a foul. Send Yang off. And why? You know what I mean? The referee, Don Robertson, had made the right decisions during the game. He called it a yellow, and that they didn't touch him in the face. That's a yellow card. Any more of that, and you're off. And you get that Rangers mad. Fucking John Beaton just sitting there with his probably sitting there with a Holland top on because it's orange and it doesn't. It's a discreet, you know what I mean? Just like fucking I can't.
And when you look at like the ad, not the ad, the article that came out for that you were talking about, it's about the last 10. They updated the last 10 incidents. 8 of them were penalties. So 8 out of the 10 incidents that were wrong was either a penalty that was meant to be given that wasn't given, or a penalty given that wasn't meant to be given. And this is like when I became a FIFA referee when I was in high school, and I remember the guy saying, a penalty is not just a foul. You've got to remember, if you give a penalty, you're changing the game. So it has to be refereed a little bit differently. It's not like, a simple foul that would have been in the middle of the field is now a penalty. It's like, well, a little bit of contact, like one on Silva. What, like if that's in the middle of the field, yeah, maybe. But now you're giving away pretty much a goal that changes the game for that sort of thing. And then they're also getting it wrong, and also they're getting more time to get it wrong as well because they're getting to look at it. But a big issue with me with VAR is the other issues that it's causing, like the assistant referees. Now that VAR's in, they're not doing their job. They're sitting waiting. So there's about 10, 15 seconds will go by. Some games, there's been several minutes before they end up calling something back, which could lead to injuries. If VAR wasn't there, they'd just be flagging up whatever they see, offside or not offside. So it's just causing more issues than anything.
They're just there to dictate which way the throwing went now, aren't they?
Pretty much.
Which were rubbish at edge of it.
100% bloody throwing.
I can't be the only one that now realises why I thought Gerard was a bit of a knob. He's a referee.
Look, I said I'd done the course in high school and refereed high school football. That was it.
Fair enough.
I don't think you're a knob either.
We'll bring up some comments here. So Ange today in his press conference for Spurs was told basically that VAR is not going to be brought in Sweden. And he was like, it looks like I'm moving there next. So he hates it as well. So it's one of those things. Sweden is refusing to do it. You jumped in before, Willie. I was going to say, we've got VAR, but we don't have goal line technology. You need to have both of them together for it to work properly or better than we've currently got in Scotland. So that's part of it. Now, Pete McGee's saying ex-players, managers, and ex-coaches apparently are all in there. Apparently they're all from the Dead Club. That's referring to the panel. Now, Patrick's saying, I think refs should see the incident at the speed they're refereeing the game as well as the slow down replay. If they're going to go look at VAR, yes, 100% agree with that. The slow down and stills is just not the right option.
Yeah, when they slow it down, they're looking, did it touch his hand? It was like, that question isn't, did it touch his hand? It's, did it touch the hand in a certain way that gave an advantage? But now they're just going, let's slow it down. Oh, did it touch his hand? I'm like, yes, this isn't cricket. Like, it's not snicko. It's like, if it touches, that's a penalty. If it doesn't, it's not. That's not what freaking red, like, handballs are. And that Wata one was a perfect example. Yes, it did touch his hand. Was it a penalty? No. And they've come out and said it wasn't, and it was a mistake, and it was a crap call by your mate Beaton.
But the other thing is, when they call the referee over, they should just say, look, Don, come over here. I think you should have a look at this. I think there's a potential foul in the box. I'll leave you to make your own decision. And then run the footage through at real time from angle 1, angle 2, angle 3, angle 4, and angle 5. I'd sit there and say nothing and then just say, what do you think, Don? We think that's a penalty. Then what happens is when they go over, they sit there and talk to them and say, we think it's a penalty. We think there's contact in the box here. If you slow this down and then, look, he's touched him there. Look, the studs might be slightly high. That could be a red card offence too. They're putting their impression onto the referee. The referee in the middle of the game during the 90 minutes is the one who's in charge of it, not the guy who's sitting in a van watching it all on a screen. It's up to the person who's reffing on the day to make the final decision. He doesn't need somebody else putting that idea in his head. He needs to just go over to the screen, watch it on all the different angles and say, right, yeah, I did get that wrong, actually, yeah, and go back. But for me, I just feel like they're just getting ideas forced upon them. Like.
Yep. So, a couple more comments here. People J's, we wanted VAR for goal line incidents and the like, but not for overturning yellows to red. Well, yeah, unless it's an obvious one. It all comes down to patterns of assistance, RL77. And the last thing on this topic, we'll leave it there, is RL77 was, I think we can acknowledge refereeing has been poor. Hopefully this new guy coming in, Alan Crawford, will sort it. Next thing I want to go, Pete McGee saying, can we have subtitles when you guys are talking about Aussie sport? Oh, yeah, sorry, mate. So before Dan was saying about he wants Sydney FC to win the A-League, and I responded with, like, come on, golden victory. So there you go. You got it deciphered now.
One of us supports the biggest and best club in the A-League, and the other one's Jared, who supports Melbourne.
The other one's Dan.
Too slow.
I'll just boot you.
Yeah, I'm having to go with the boss. It's not wise.
Yeah,
He's been muted. just muted him.
I said I was having to go at the boss. That was unwise, and I looked up and I'm like, no one even heard me say it. So,
oh, we heard it. I just muted you. Anyway, so Scotland under 21 player Tommy Conway from Bristol City has been linked with a move to Celtic this off-season by Steve Evans, who is one of the two people, along with Peter Grant, who apparently tipped Celtic off to Matt O'Reilly before we signed him. So this season he's played 38 matches for 10 goals and an assist. He's a 6'1" forward. Has played 6 times for the Scotland under 21s team, scoring twice. Willie, what do you reckon?
I reckon that
up now is I'm tying that into, we've got that link. We also have the £5 million for Ida, which is the fee that Norwich is stating that it has to be at least $5 million for Ida. And then we've got O as well. So realistically, they're not going to be for a number one striker. So do you think Conway is someone we could potentially look at? Or would you rather stump up some cash for Ida and try and keep him long term, or go somewhere else?
I would say I would stump up the cash for Ida. We know Ida can score the goals. We know he gives us that different option up front to what Kyogo is. I don't know much about Conway. If I'm totally honest, I'll pass over to one of the other guys. They might have a bit more info on them than I do. But I think O's time's up. I think we could probably put O out on loan to another SPL team next season to see if he can score goals on a regular basis in Scotland. But I have a feeling it might not be at the level we need him to be, or at the consistency that we want from him. So, yeah, I would pay if it's $5 million, I would pay that for Ida. Yeah.
Thing with Conway, Willie, I'm just going to say it. No more projects. Anyway, over to you, Dan.
Yeah, 100%. I saw the link with Conway. And, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm watching Bristol City games every week. The reports are reasonably positive. Young Scottish fella, looks decent, but he's not. To me, he's probably not the guy you want right now in that sort of 1-2 position. I'm again the same. I think he's probably out the door. I'd be loaning him, but I'm a huge fan of loaning within the SPFL. I just don't think we do it enough. I've said that before. I think I was on top of that when we let Tilio go back home, and I know there was homesickness involved, but to me, let's see what they can do in Scotland before we're writing players off or punting them entirely. I've made no secret. I'm a huge Adam Ida fan. I think $5 million is an absolute bargain. They were going to fleece me for a lot more than that last time we were on the show, so I'd pay that. And I think you didn't mention him there, but the quoted price for Miovski is $7 million. It's probably a good price for him too. But if you're going between them, then Celtic will take the cheaper option without a shadow of a doubt. So,
Jared, what are your thoughts?
Well, you got to look at what Brendan Rodgers' vision was when he came in. He was talking about taking us to the next level, going to Champions League and competing Champions League. Grabbing an under 21s unproven player doesn't seem like that's going in that sort of direction. That seems like we're going backwards and rebuilding. This team's meant to be getting better. If we're bringing in any player, I think it should be someone who's better than who is currently starting. Like, we need a centre back. It needs to be someone who's better than Scales. Well, left back needs to be someone that's better than Taylor. And when it comes to striker, I'm kind of on the fence at the moment. I want to see what's out there. I don't want to be like, yes, let's just grab Ida because he's there. And also, they said minimum of 5. That doesn't mean it's going to be 5. Someone else might go, hey, we saw him play pretty well at Celtic. We'll give you 6 or 7. And then we're in a bidding war. I know Ida would probably want to come to us, but when it comes down to it, it's not really his choice. So would I pay 5 for Ida over a young kid? Yeah, probably at this point. But I would prefer someone that's actually going to fight for Kyogo's starting position and have Kyogo come off the bench.
On that note, there was an interest. I don't know how many of you guys read the Celtic Way, but they sort of reviewed and scouted 3 alternative options that weren't Ida or Miovski, and they came up with Zan Selar from Lugano, Tobias Lauritsen from Sparta Rotterdam, and Mateus Saldana from Partizan. So you've got some homework to do, fellas. Go and learn about those guys. But for me, the thing you didn't mention there is Ida pushing, but we know what Ida can do in the SPFL. We know he's not overawed by playing at Ibrox. He's not overawed by playing at Celtic Park. He's a proven commodity.
Same with Majowski. Majowski's the same. He scored goals in Europe for Aberdeen. He scored goals in Scotland. If it wasn't for Majowski, Aberdeen would be in the relegation zone this season, or at least in the playoffs with Livingston going down. So Majowski, couple of million more. He's still a proven striker.
I think don't get me wrong, I think he's great, but
I agree more with what Jared was saying. For me, it's you want to get him better by challenging your starters, and then that in turn makes your bench stronger. Like, okay, we've got a bunch of young players to come through and develop. Look at the young guys coming through from the youth academy. You look at home, who everyone forgets we've got. You've got Tilio that we still own, whether we punt him or whatever. You've got Yang to come through. You've got Kwon out on loan. O can go out on loan within the SPFL. I agree on that. But for me, I don't see the club spending £7 million on Majowski when he's not really going to be starting every week over the top of Kyogo. In much the same way, I don't think we'd pay $5 million for Ida because he's not going to start over Kyogo every week. You're not going to spend that much to have a guy sit on the bench the whole time. We spent $5 million on a Yeti, and he basically became a bench warmer, and he's out the door. So I can't see the club doing that again, spending that much for a bench. Now, I understand things have moved along, and the market has increased, and the board hasn't. But they've got to understand that you've got to spend money to make money. Invest in a starter, bump Kyogo back down, and make Kyogo have to challenge for that spot again if he wants. So that's part of it for me, but at the same time, I'm also looking at it going, we do need to do something. And you said before, Dan, I thought you were going to say Mateus Fistgarden, the big Danish guy at Brombury, that we're going to spend $6-7 million on. Now, that's a young striker that could come in and challenge Kyogo for the starting spot. But is he Champions League ready? Probably not.
I think lost in the I guess debate is also the fact that Ida's 22,
something like that.
Established international too. Fits the bill.
I don't know. Plus, he's got that Irish tattoo, so there's going to be a lot of marketing photos. We could probably make a couple of shirts out of it and sell those. So
be paid off before the money's even in Norwich's bank.
Just trying to think like Lowell, how would Big Pete handle it? Cheap and with a marketing angle.
I'm just having a look at some of the comments here. So Pete McGee is saying, our game doesn't suit Miowski's style. Aberdeen don't play 4-3-3 every week. Dermot saying Mioski's only 24, 14 goals for a poor Aberdeen team. I think we'd get him for 5 million. I thought Mioski was older than 24. There you go.
Aberdeen knocked back 5.5 million from Southampton in the summer, so you would have to be upward of that to have any chance of getting them.
IR77, if we win the league and get Champions League money, it's a whole different ball game, retransfers, or it's rights on the Celtic way. Pete McGee, yeah, in his short time at Celtic, I think Ida has shown is way more than O in terms of potential. Yep. The thing with Ida as well is there's other championship teams down in England who are apparently keeping an eye on him, watching him. Same with Hellas Verona over in Italy as well. So there's going to be other teams wanting to come in. So we might get into a bidding war on that as well.
But he could actually dig his heels in and say, "No, I want the Celtic move," and force Norwich's hand on it. Right? So there is that as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think if we're going to get anyone from Aberdeen this off season, it's going to be Connor Barron. We'll get him on a free. It's not going to be Miovski because, we don't want to spend money within Scotland. But anyway.
I don't mind Connor Barron, though.
He's all right. Yeah, he's a decent player. Right?
For our midfield. Yep. I'll rate him. But anyway.
There's a great young there's a really interesting good young striker in the Eredivisie that I've been watching too. Sam Lammers.
Didn't he just break a record over there?
He scored in like 1,000 games in a row or something.
9. I think it was scored in 9 games in a row and got the record.
Here we go. It's only the last one I had. Yeah, so it's going to be a bit of an interesting one. We'll see how it all goes. But yeah, we'll as you know, we'll keep the podcast coming over the off season and everything and keep talking about it. So I'll just bring up a couple of other comments here. So Robert Gibson was keep Ida punt O. AR77 was Ida is worth 5 million. The market has moved on. Our board haven't. Yep. I think I pretty much stole your point there when I just said that before. Patrick saying I'm still on the fence about Ida. I'd like to see if you can do it over a full season first. So I'd like another loan deal. Ideally, that would be good. Robert Gibson, I was waiting for this one. Punt Palmer. And RL77. I always got everything except the footballing brain. And Strange Love was, I don't care who it is or what position it is, as long as they are intelligent, technical, powerful, and fast with a personality and good character. I earn total metalheads too if I'm being picky. Love it.
I'm just going to say it. I don't know if you're single, Strange Love the Doctor, but I'm also a metalhead, and Dr. Strangelove is my favorite movie. So I don't know. Hit me up.
There's a
slide into my
bromance.
DMs.
There's an offer you can't refuse. What is this? Blind date?
Have a look at the beard.
Well, you see a chance, take a shot. Got to get that XG up. Take a shot.
Yep. So anyway, we'll just for you, Jared, we'll crack on to the weekend's game against Hearts at Celtic Park. So, Jared, what's your matchup? Any matchups you think we need to look out for? And then give us your starting lineup and your score prediction.
It's kind of hard because we don't know who's going to be playing. I would say the midfield, because from what I've seen over the last few weeks, when our midfield is on, we dominate the game. But when our midfield isn't clicking, it just sets everything back. We can't get forward. Then it goes to our back line, and then Scales holds the ball too much and gets abused by everyone. So I think it's really important in this game that the midfield need to dominate the game.
Yeah, I agree.
My starting lineup. That was the second part of the question. Starting lineup. I'm going to go the same back four and Joe Hart in goal. Midfield. I'm going to go with Callum McGregor starting. I think Awata is in better form, but I think he's going to go with McGregor just because he's the captain and we've got like 4 games left. O'Reilly and Rio. And then up front, I'm going to stick with Forrest on the left, Kyogo and Kun. And hopefully we actually do see Maida back this game. I'd like to see him actually come off the bench Forrest had a really good strong start. I think if we can come off and have another strong start, get us up, then it would be good to see Maida finish the game off, because he can actually get back and defend, and he'll be going on their defense's tired legs with his speed.
Yeah, 100%. I'm looking at it going, I agree with you, and Patrick agrees with you as well. The midfield needs to be strong. Like, that's the biggest issue for me, is that, and then us at set pieces. Andrew's saying Awada back starting. Brought up Robert's comment there. Which handbastard is the ref?
It's not. It's Kevin Clancy. So
exactly. That's why I was laughing when I clicked on it. It's the funny thing for me on this one is I just look at it and go, they're big. They play a back three centre backs, and they're all relatively big. So at set pieces and long throws, we've got to be careful. And then if they want to hit us on the counter, they've got Shanklin there, but it's the middle of the park we've got to get on top of, because they'll play a 3-5-2. They'll try and overload that. And yeah, Kalmack, Hatade, and O'Reilly the last couple of games has been a little lightweight. So for me, that's where the game's going to be won, in the middle of the park. What's going on there?
Someone's got the old fire alarm going off.
Someone's got a smoke alarm or something going off. So I was just looking
at outside.
Oh, there we go. So for
one
me,
job, one job.
Starting lineup for us will be the same as last weekend. I don't think there'll be any changes. I think Awada should start. I'd rather have Kelmac coming off the bench. But yeah, it'll be the same lineup as last weekend for me. And yeah, I think we're going to win 3-1. Willie?
That, as you said, Jared, they'll come out. They played us twice with a flat 3-5-2, and they got a result on both occasions. I think getting the wingers in behind Cockring and Lembasaka is key to getting success. Try and draw them out a little bit and try and get our wingers in behind them in that little space and get some decent deliveries into the box, and we might get a bit of success. So getting an early goal could be really pivotal in this, because if you get that early goal, then Hearts have to step out, and that gives you a little bit of space to try and exploit. So the other thing is, it'll be massive if we can go 6 points clear and leave them with 12 hours to sit and stew on it. We owe them a hiding, and it's a debt I hope we honour. So I'm going to go 3-1 as well. Kyogo will open the scoring in the same starting lineup as last week. And as Gerard says, Miera coming on after an hour, and I would take a Wata on after the hour mark, just sort of shore things up. So yeah, 3-1 for me.
And Dan?
Yeah, nothing to add in terms of the team. I think it'll be same starting 11. Score prediction, I'm going to go 2-1. Up very similar to the Dundee game, mostly in control, but some moments where we're not. And I think I've predicted it every single week, but a goal for Greg Taylor. We're going to get there. I can't give up on it now, because if he scores one, I'm going to be heartbroken. So.
Fair enough. So there we go. We've got that there. Just thanks everyone for tuning in again, and we'll go to our final thoughts to wrap up the podcast. So, Willie, I'll go to you first.
Yeah, rhythm is a dancer.
Jared?
My final thoughts are, I just started my own Celtic YouTube channel, and my first video, which is horrendous, launched at 6 p.m. tonight. It's so bad. Like, I can stand up and tell crappy jokes to 200 people, but sitting talking to a little camera, so awkward. So hopefully that gets better. But it is called Celtic Corner. I think if you look it up on YouTube, it's Celtic Corner 1888. Check it out. Give me crap. Hopefully the next video is better.
Dan?
So my final thought, I found this new Celtic YouTube channel, like Celtic Corner or something. It was absolute pish. First video, I thought it was great. It's I predict big things. I realized today I never prepare for the final thought. I have all these thoughts in my head, and I get to this point and I'm like, I got fucking no idea. So I've outsourced it to ChatGPT, and this is what it's come up with. And it's very along the lines of Willie. In the symphony of existence, may your final note be a resounding crescendo of fulfillment and peace.
And off the back of that, all calm and nice and everything, I'll just say, up the rah. Cheers, everyone. Hail,
Up
hail.
the Ra, fuck the Queen, up the Pope, up the Celts.